I'm over 50 years old, and I was married to this individual for 20 years. Well, my initial impression was not um, impactful. Um, it was it was a circumstance that just happened, and um, I was not aware that the person had any interest in me, and I surely didn't have any interest in her at the time, and so it um, from there, I'm sure the the scheme began to take shape because I wasn't aware that it was happening. What happened was that I was a widower, and she loved on my daughter, and a recent widower at that. And she was kind of in my circle, but I was not looking for anyone at the time. And it just took off from there. She used my daughter to get to me, play on my emotions, play on the grief that I was going through. And I wasn't aware of this at the time because I thought I was coping pretty well, but she made me feel that I needed a wife. I needed someone, and I was not even thinking about that. But this is how insidious some people can be, and of course, it went on for a while, and it wasn't maybe a year, wasn't even a year before we were married. Just started to make plans, um, put me in awkward positions. It's almost like a person who uh, occupies your time or monopolize your time, and I couldn't get rid of her. I didn't understand it in the beginning. She did not have a place of her own to live in, and that should have been a red flag. But again, I wasn't aware of this aspect of you know, I wasn't looking for nothing negative like that. But anyway, I had my own home, and it seemed like it was just convenient. She didn't have it. She was living with somebody. She was calling herself taking care of somebody, and she was she didn't have any place, and we never would talk about it. But it seemed like it was more convenient for her to just start to come around me, come around, where I live. And so it was more like it appeared to be convenient. Uh, she was able to spend time with my daughter or spend time with me, and we were not we were not intimate at the time, so I didn't see it as being something that it was necessary. But I felt that if she would take her time out to do what she was doing, and she would drive nearly over an hour to get to where I live, and she would take her time to do that. So I would always make time to give her some time when she was around, and so eventually, it's like a leech or parasite. You know, you don't know that you can see it happening, but you don't want to acknowledge that it's happening. It seemed like it's all coincidental. Hindsight is 20/20 vision, but I wasn't looking for that, and so eventually, um, she just started to pop up um, around me at convenient times, and I just couldn't get rid of her. And in my social circle, it just made it look like we were courting. Before I knew it, she started to tell everybody that we were engaged to be married. Again, this was so fast and so awkward that I didn't know when I said yes to it. She got the marriage license, and it was just moving fast. I guess I just got drawn into it. She just she just made herself become a part of my family, so to speak. I couldn't get rid of her, and so I tolerated and tolerated it, but it was annoying. But then I call myself I call myself a fixer because I knew it wasn't really what I wanted, but I wasn't aware that she had any type of motives, ulterior motives. I reasoned it out. I rationed it out. That um, her not being married, we both were a little older and more mature. My wife had recently died, and um, all of these things kind of seemed like it was destiny. So I went out, I played along with it. Honestly and truthfully, it was not pure love. It wasn't attraction for her. It was just a dream of what I thought a family should be, and so I felt that it was destiny of some kind. I didn't accept that it was not what I wanted it to be or thought it could be at first because I was in denial. I would see different behaviors that she would have. She would demonstrate, such as she would interfere when I tried to discipline my daughter. My daughter was 5 or 6 years old at the time, and she would interfere and she would do so right in front of me. It really made me feel awkward. I never felt like that before, but I began to realize that I was losing control. But this is in the course of some years. So it wasn't something that I was able to pinpoint or was willing to say that it was going to continue on. I learned early, even before we were married, that it was going to be a challenge. But I just felt that it was something that I could do. I seen the red flags, and I wanted to say that I could fix it, or I could change it, or I could correct it. It would it would be different types of manipulation that she would use in awkward times, and those manipulations would set off like red flags. But I still wasn't aware. I am now, but I, looking back, it's I could see that it was not a genuine attraction that she had for me, and it was for more for her security. But later I found out that it was even more insidious than that. I was always concerned with the her being alone, my daughter being alone with her, because I had started to see the shifts in her behavior, and I was just she had locked me in, um, and so this went on for years, for a couple of years. I try to minimize the time that my daughter spent with her, but she still found a way to cause friction between myself and my daughter. She would tell me that she had depression. And then she said it was seasonal depression. We've even went to the therapist she was going to, and she would try to tell the therapist that it was me, so I was doing something wrong, and it got me upset with the therapist because I knew she was lying. It was just overwhelming, and I'm sure you understand that portion of it. It's hard to it's like being in a tornado. You really don't know which way is up. As I look back, because it's been some years now, as I look back, I know it has had an effect on my child, forming her own personality. It was like I was adjusting as I went because I couldn't explain it to nobody. I wasn't able to talk to nobody about it. I wasn't. This started around 2000, and it wasn't until about 2018 that I began to get information on it. It was always like I was second guessing myself, and with a young child, a young girl, daughter, it it just added a whole lot of anxiety to me because my daughter didn't have a biological mother. It seemed like the relationship was one that I was trying to make it to be divinely set put in place because she's never had any kids and I have a daughter. And so I was saying, well, look, she's your daughter as well as mine now. I would give her this kind of a leverage. But when I understood that she was not right emotionally and mentally, I couldn't. I didn't know how to draw back from that. So it always it kept me on guard all the time. She put on a show for a short time, but once we got inside the four walls, she became a different person. So I would always be trying to make a show, and right now people believe that we had an idea of marriage because I was trying to make the show for the family. But she really challenged all the emotional strength that I had because I knew my daughter was gonna be affected by her. And right now, I'm seem to be estranged from my daughter, but I'm still fighting to try to normalize the relationship with my daughter, as well as get myself, hold myself to pull myself back together because I was an independent person. But again, by her being so hot and cold, it made me start second guessing so much in my life. And again, it happened over a course of time, so it was not something that I understood was going on. I knew it was happening, but I couldn't give it a name until around 2018 when I started to do some deep research, and I didn't know where to start. Again, like I said, she would mention that she suffered with depression, but when I started researching it, I realized that depression doesn't affect people the same way it was. She was being affected, but she would change like 4 or 5 times a day, and so I know I was dealing with someone who had some problems that I could not figure it out. So I started to research. I actually bought the DSM-5. Um, I went on the internet and I started to research different symptoms that I seen her demonstrate, and I narrowed it down to the cluster B. And so that's when I really started to feel more enlightened or more strengthened that there is something that gets very close to what I was experiencing with her. And but when I tried to get to talk to somebody about talk to others about it, they they didn't want to hear it, and so it became something that my own. Yeah, I had to figure it out for myself. And thanks to you all with the videos and others' experiences, I was able to get myself back on track to understand that no, it wasn't. I wasn't doing her anything that that's causing it, and she continued to try to blame me and blame my daughter for things, but she would project her experiences onto me, and she would try to make me carry guilt that I didn't that I was not a part of. But it she'd always have a, a, a minimum amount of truth in her lies. Part of what she was saying did not was not a part of my character. I know what it is now. I know what it is now. She was projecting her inner feelings onto me, and in turn, she was trying to take my character as her image. I know what it is now, but it was crazy making at the time because it was. I'm sure you understand that um they would try to make you feel or believe that you have done them, or you had some motive to do them something that you weren't even. It wasn't even a part of what you were thinking about, or it just wasn't within your character. You have to defend yourself all the time. An occasion when I started to pay more than the usual attention to the behavior, because you have to kind of latch on somewhere. But this was a event where we would just sit down and talk for about 30 minutes in the morning before we got up out of the bed, and I would we would like reflect on the day before. We talk about some things that she agreed to the day before, and the next day she would disagree. I've seen it happen a few times, but I didn't pay very much attention to it. But uh, it was one time that I I made a conscious effort to bring up something that she and I agreed on the day before. We absolutely agreed upon it. It was something that she was okay with. The very next day, I brought it up that we agreed upon it. She denied it up and down. And okay, that was one time, and then I started to do it again. This time it was something that we disagreed on, and I would got up the next day and I brought it up to her that we disagreed on, and she would say, "No, we agreed on it." So it became like a cat and mouse thing from there because then I knew that I was challenging something that was not going to agree to nothing that I do or say, and so um, we still were together, but then I had to start acknowledging that this person was not going to be agreeable to nothing that I'm always going to have to be secure in myself. I'm not going to get no kind of uh, positive anything from her. It was really crazy making, but I did come to understand that what she was dealing with I was not going to be able to change it. My friends, they they did not want to acknowledge that there's anything wrong with her. Now I don't have any more friends. Yes, I moved away from my family before I met her. My immediate family. Well, they said something to me in the effect of, "You don't want to leave your daughter. You don't want to raise your daughter around her." That's what they said to me. And I had no clue what they were talking about. They didn't say don't marry her. They just said that you're not. This is somebody you should not want to leave your daughter around. And I I did not understand. And later on, I seen these people, and I told them I appreciate what they tried to tell me. It was a couple of years later, maybe 5 or 6 years later. I told them I appreciate them what they tried to tell me, and you know how they responded? Like I didn't know what I was talking about. In other words, they didn't want nothing to do with it. And so it's you put out a video. I think it was just this morning about
Mm-hmm.
sleeping with the enemy or living with the enemy.
Yes. Yes.
Boy, that was on time. So I said that a many a days, and you put out several very good videos that describe what we have to go through dealing with these people. Um, but the others who I considered my friends, they they abandoned me, and I'm sure she has something to do with them. No one really want to acknowledge that she's had anything to do with how our relationship ended. And so I have like this cloud over my head that I abandoned her. I took the blame for, you know, how our relationship ended. She would have her mood swings, so to speak. She would cause a problem in the family, in a relationship, and then she would leave and go stay with one of our friends, and she would make them believe that I've done her something wrong. And so I've always been like the antagonist in a relationship. Like I was the one causing the problems. But she would always she left me like 5 or 6 times, maybe more, and went stayed with other people and told them things about me negatively and made it seem like I'd done her something wrong. But then she would come back within a day or two, and then I would have to accept her back and uh, play as though she had not done anything wrong. Accept the responsibility for what she's done, and therefore she never had to accept any responsibility. Her agreeing to something that um, we disagreed on, and disagreeing to something that we agreed upon, and it was not just one occasion. It was happening all through the relationship. But as I slowed down, as I became more and more aware or more suspicious, I began to be take note of it because it was not something that I was familiar with. So when I started to see that it was not going to be a stable outcome, I I want to be honest with you. I don't believe I wanted to leave, but I didn't know how. I wanted to break up because I own the house. See, and I had to be here. The only thing that I Only the other alternative I have is to, sell the house and move, and I'm just not able to do that right now. So it was a lot of times I wanted to do something, but I wasn't financially able to do it. And but I did understand that I was not in a healthy relationship, so I had to. It was a different type of a relationship that we had to have from that point. And there was a lot of things. It was some things in our intimate life that she withdrew sex from in the marriage for what, a year and a half, last year and a half of our relationship. So a lot of things that were just, and she would go to work maybe an hour or so away, and sometimes she would sleep over. I mean, yeah, sleep over on the job, and I never done that. I never done that the whole time we were married. But it was things that she would do that would just test me, that would just push the envelope. And the more I seen it, the more she did. And when I spoke up about it, she would cause a ruckus and leave, and cause a bad reflection on me. That was it. The last time was I was saying something to her about something that I was gonna do, but I was being vague. I was being vague on purpose, but I didn't know why I was being vague. In hindsight, I realized that I was challenging her because she didn't understand what I was doing. But I was saying that I was going to um, start a business about 20 miles away. I had retired at the time, and I said I was going to do that to try to have me something to do and somewhere to go. And so I was going to start a little business, but I didn't let her know that exactly what I was doing. But I said I have to do something. I was just saying that what I was what I was saying to myself was that I had to get out the house. But she didn't understand what I was saying, and that seemed to be what it was because she didn't understand it. I left the house one morning, and I was going to be gone for about 2 hours. And when I came back, she had moved out. And I didn't understand why, because again, this was the last of maybe 7 or 8 times she had done that. And I said to myself, you know, should I try? Should I try? But I said, well, this may be the time. And because it was caught me off guard that she'd move all the stuff out the house while I was gone. Everything. She was totally gone within 2 hours. So I pondered over it for a while, but then I said I'm gonna give her time this time. I'm not gonna offer her keys back. I'm not gonna ask her to come back home. So she always had somewhere to go for cooling off period, so to speak. But she would this time I said no, I'm not gonna accept her back. And so, I guess I was saying that I'm gonna see just how this plays out if I don't invite her back, because I always have to invite her back and accept some responsibility for what she's done. But this time I decided not to do that. And so days pass, and then weeks pass, and then I started to feel a little more clear and more strength. And then I realized she had my keys, and I didn't want her to just walk in the house on me. So I asked her about the keys, and she gave me the keys. No questions asked. And she's been gone ever since. But the point was that it happened so uneventful. It happened so uneventful, but it was more of the same. But I just had enough, and I had somehow I had a wisdom or premonition enough just to say, well, I'm gonna give her a little time before I ask her to come back. And I decided I wasn't gonna ask her to come back. And eventually, I got my keys, and she was gone. And but she came back several times, but I never opened the door and let her back in the house. I prayed and I researched. I prayed and I researched, and I also, again, I attribute a lot of my progress to the videos that you all making on the YouTube to identify this type of behavior because I had no clue. Again, she would say she had depression, and then I even researched and realized that a lot of the therapists are misunderstanding. There's a reason for it. I know it. I know that too. I had to understand. I was that deep into it that I had to solve. I had to try to solve my own problem. In other words, and I had no friends that I could relate to that could I could get some feedback as to what I'm doing or whether I'm doing the right thing. I had to pray about it, and um, I tried never to give her anything to accuse me of. As you know, you could try to be as good as you want to be. All these people are looking for are opportunities to get what they want. So your efforts are your efforts. They're in what they want. And so I had to learn the different jargons or the different behavior patterns that I'd have to look for. I had to learn how to the gray rock. I had to learn how to no contact. Yeah, I had to really learn these things, and these are the things that helped me and continues to help me because again, she's popped up again, and I'm gray rocking, and it's still a challenge to me because again, I don't have nobody I can relate to that these this is a behavior that is not going to change because we want it to change. She has to change it. I can't make her change it. Medicine, I don't think, will make her change it. But you have to acknowledge that it's a pattern that is only she would be able to change, regardless to how nice she appear to be or how you know how they come over they come off as nice people. I eventually divorced her. It's been difficult. It's been really difficult. I guess I'm still going through it, but I do feel comfortable in my skin. I found a way to appreciate myself. I learned to not expect uh, external validation in order to make myself feel better. I learned how to research. I learned how to appreciate the value of knowing that I'm not a bad person, that I'm not a, that I don't feel guilty for anything. And so it almost like like I've consoled myself. I've forgiven myself. I didn't know I needed forgiving, but I really was depending on an external source to validate me. That was when my healing started. To understand that I didn't need anyone, because I didn't have anyone, but I didn't need anyone to validate me, um, to make me be complete. I am complete. She can't deal with that. I see her and look straight through her. I don't say nothing to her, and I don't let her affect my emotions anymore because I've done the research. I understand her limitations. I understand that she is not good. She don't have the potential to change, or the will, or the ability to do. I wouldn't say ability, but she don't have the potential or the will to change. If she changes, she has to do it. Like I have to do what I have to do. But you can go through it. And what helped me is I went back to my basics. I went back and understood that I never had an intention on hurting anybody, regardless to whether I hurt them or didn't hurt them. I didn't know any better. But when I learned, I changed. But my intention with her was never negative. But I'm a better person now. I'm a better person. I'm aware um, of my interacting with other people. I'm aware of that now. I can take it or leave it. So I'm okay now. I'm okay. I learned that I came into the world by myself, and I was of 100% of what I needed to be to get through my life. And I have challenges. I found out later that I did have attention deficit, but that didn't make me want to hurt any other people. That didn't make me. It made me feel like I wanted to be dependent on other people. But when I understood, I got some help, and I'm working on it now. So I'm a better person now. I played a role. I played a role in this. I felt that I needed her, and I would have been. It would have been okay if I would have had somebody who was appreciated what I had to offer. I really didn't need her, and I learned that I really don't need anybody to make me whole. But I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything. And that's what I've learned. I've learned that I could be content. I could be content in just being who I am, and I could help other people. I don't try to cater to or make other people cater to me. Once you understand, once you understand that people and I never been in a relationship long, uh, with with someone who had this type of behavior for so long, and I never was able to uh, pinpoint that it was hopeless or useless because either I just left them or they left me, but I was trying my best to make this work, and I gave all I had to try to make it work. I mean, my dignity and my manhood. I put I challenged them for this person. One thing it taught me is that all people aren't the same, and all people who appear to be adults are not the same. It taught me some things. I'll tell you that. Well, I guess the first advice is don't get in it, but I do understand that these kind of traps have their way of catching people. So the advice that I would give is not to move too fast. First of all, give yourself time to be able to see that person's behavior patterns. I've learned that in the past over time that people have behavior patterns and their behavior is going to show. And don't deny what you see. And if you have any doubts of whether or not this is what you think it is, don't try to convince yourself that you can fix it. It's not for you to fix nobody else. It's for that person to first of all, want to fix themselves, but also to acknowledge that they do need to be fixed. Be careful, especially if you have children, especially if you have growing children, because these people will destroy any relationship that you have. I use the analogy of puppies. When they want their food, they don't care about each other. They step all over one another. This is the way these people are. They don't care about children. They don't care about their peers. They don't care about nobody. And it's not something that you can just believe that it's not what it is. It is that. They do not care. If you have children and you expose them to somebody like this, it is not a healthy situation. It's just not good. Yeah, I think it's vitally important. But again, I'd like to ask you, how would this how would this come about? Because even a lot of the mental health experts, they don't readily acknowledge this behavior, and so the mainstream, they glamorize it. The happy ending syndrome. There's no such thing. People can see things if they want to see them, and they could identify them if they're educated. But who is it going to educate people? Well, right now I'm not. I'm doing okay. I'm doing very well in that I I'm comfortable in myself. I'm making decisions now that um I'm feeling confident and and accomplishing things. I'm not active as I would like to be anymore. I've gotten older, but I don't have, I don't have a baby wife hanging on me, making me go get older and die too soon. I'd say my health is good, so good. Um, at this point, I feel better about myself than I felt in a long time. I have to recall how many days I have second guessed myself because I didn't know what kind of person would be coming back home. And I know you understand what I mean. It's a whole different experience when you become an adult, but you have to start behaving like a child, walking on eggshells because someone else don't want to grow up or don't want to accept responsibility. It is devastating to you. And I need to always. I try to always recall what it used to be like compared to what it's like now, and that's my reward. I found out where my weaknesses were, and I worked on those. Cost me a lot, but I found what was really valuable. I believe that God has a purpose for for the earth and for mankind, but also recognize that we're so far into the degradation of the world that we need to more look more at emotional aspect of human development. Things that happen to young people when they're growing up. Try to identify emotional trauma. I was this way. I didn't believe that children had had emotional trauma that they couldn't get rid of. I didn't believe that at first, but I know it now. That would be so valuable. I, I guess I needed to vent it and also discussing it with someone who knows something about it. And that's important because I have taken it upon myself to rescue me. It's okay to learn things, but if you don't have nothing or no one you could bounce it off or no one to give you any feedback on or understand what you're saying, then you're still not comfortable or feel confident that you've really understood what you've achieved or what you worked to get. There's a lot of people that are experiencing um, uh, these types of dilemmas. And one thing that they do to you is they take your voice from you. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to um, kind of make it public and just try to make it better for others as much as I can. And I guess that's the reason why I'm doing it.